Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Synced Up Design's Equipment Basics. My name is Kyle, and in this video, we're going to be going over what a color guard saber is and everything that makes it up. As usual, if you guys would please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, it would really mean a lot to us. And if you would go ahead and hit that bell icon, you will always stay up to date with anything we post in the future. Anyways, with that taken care of, let's go learn about the saber. So the first thing I want to go over is going to be the anatomy of the saber and everything that makes it up. When we're looking at the saber, we see two major parts that make it up, which is going to be the blade of the saber and the hilt of the saber. First, I want to go over the hilt. When we're looking at this section, we see two big pieces. One is going to be the handle, which is the part that's connected to the blade itself and the part that you're able to grab whenever you're spinning it. And the other part is going to be this silver cage that wraps around over top the handle as we go through. So putting the cage and the handle together, we have the hilt section of the saber. When it comes to the handle, there's also a screw at the very top of the handle. This one is covered by tape, so you can't see it very well, but most sabers will have that, and depending on whatever manufacturer or company you get your saber from, some of them may require you to actively tighten those screws whenever you're doing maintenance, and others usually weld that in, so it really just depends, but that is the entire hilt section of the saber. After that, we have the blade, which is the full body of the saber. On the opposite end, we have the tip of the blade. We travel down a little bit to find the catch tape of the saber, and then we travel down a little bit more to the spotter or the balance point of the saber, which is where we have the equal distribution of weight between both sides of the saber altogether. So putting it all together, we have the hilt with the handle and the cage. We have the body of the blade followed by the spotter tape or the balance point, moving down over to the catch tape, and then ending off with the tip of the blade. Now that we have the anatomy out of the way, I want to go over the common holding positions that you'll see for saber, especially when you're first starting off. Similar to rifle, there are three main positions, which will be your flat, angle, and vertical. And again, just like rifle, they are all divided between a right and a left side. And then the angles are going to be divided between a top and the bottom. I'll get into more details about it in a second, but for the verticals, although there is a top and bottom vertical position, you really won't notice the bottom position as much. Again, we'll go into detail about that in a second, but just know that's where it differs a little bit from the rifle when we went over those positions. When it comes to knowing which side of the position you're on, it's the same as what we discussed before. Whichever hand is underneath the equipment is the side that you're on. So if my left hand is underneath the saber and my right hand is over top, I'm on the left side, and then vice versa. If my right hand is underneath and left hand is on top, I am on the right side. So first I'm going to go over our flat positions. When it comes to establishing a flat, you want to make sure that you are taking into account the fact that the blade has a slight curve to it. So whenever you're holding the saber at flat, you're going to feel as if whichever hand is on this side of the saber is going to be a little bit lower. So you want to make sure that you're favoring that ever so slightly and not pulling that hand up and trying to create a center of mass at the very middle point of the saber, but more so keeping this section a little bit more flat and then allowing the tip to curve down ever so slightly as we go through it. When we are going for a left flat, I'm going to take my left hand and place it underneath the handle, pressing the thumb against the back of it and wrapping my four fingers from the pinky to my index finger around the front, really gluing those fingers together and finding that press position. The base of my hand will be close to the base of the cage on the other side of the handle. My right hand is going to go over top at the catch tape. I'm going to line my middle finger up with that catch tape, put my other three fingers around it, pressed up close to it, and wrap it around the front of the blade while I press my thumb against the back of the blade. When it comes to your hand and what you should feel in terms of the blade, the saber should cut the center of your palm whenever you're holding it with this hand. So I'm pressing over like so, and then I'm wrapping underneath, and then this is where I find my left flat. I'm going to line the saber up with my waist to find this position. I'm going to box out my elbows, I'm going to lift up, and I'm really going to find the strong holding position here. To move over to my right side, I'm going to push my left hand on top of the cage and my right hand underneath at the catch tape. The right hand is in the same position, except it's just underneath the saber. saber, so pressing that thumb against the back and wrapping those fingers underneath, middle finger in line with the catch tape. For the cage and the left hand, my left thumb is pressing against the edge of the cage, and my other 4 fingers are wrapping around the top of the cage as we go through. So same position, just opposite sides of the saber. Again, lining it up with the waist and making sure that I'm boxing out my elbows to find this right flat. So we have left flat, and then we have right flat. So moving on from that, we have our right and left angles, which like I said earlier, are also going to be divided between a top and a bottom. For your hand placement, they are going to stay the same in relation to the right and the left side. So do not shift your hands anywhere along the saber. The only thing we're changing is where the position of the saber is going to be. So we're going to start with our left side, and when we want to go to a left up angle, all we're going to do is take that left hand and move it up to the inside of our left shoulder, and then line up our right hand with our right hip. I'm still boxing out my elbows and my hand placement is the exact same, but I'm just creating this angle position with my saber, again on the inside of my shoulder as we go through that. This is my up left angle, and if I want to go to my down left angle, all I'm going to do is switch the position of the hands. Right hand will go to the inside of the right shoulder, and left hand will go to the left hip. Now this is my down angle on the left side, but this is also known as my quarter dip, very similar to what we did with rifle. And this is where we're going to see all of our tosses come from on saber. So this is different from rifle. You will do every single toss from a quarter dip on saber. You'll never go to a full dip on saber. So just make sure that you're very aware of that as we go through. But this is our quarter dip. Moving over to the other side, I'll flip my hands to find right flat, and then to find my right up angle, I just bring my right hand up to the right shoulder or inside of it, and my left hand lines up with my left hip. Again, hand placement is the exact same, and I'm finding this angle across my body. And then to find the down angle on the right side, all I'm going to do is switch those hands. Left hand will go to my left shoulder, and right hand will go to my right hip. This position here is also known as a port position, very similar to rifle. This is a catch position that we'll see on saber as well, which is mirrored in the other weapon equipment as we go through. So we have our quarter dip on the left side, and then we have our right up angle, which is also known as port on the right side. So putting those all together, we have up angle on the left side, down angle on the left side or dip, up angle on the right side or port, and then down angle on the right side. And then the last position we have is going to be our verticals. Now, like I said earlier, we do technically have a right and a left, top and a bottom for the vertical positions. However, the bottom verticals are not as commonly seen or really used in a technical perspective. You will see them in choreography and case-by-case scenarios, but when it comes to like a basic fundamental technique, you won't really see it as often. So just make sure that you're really locking into the top verticals and less so on the bottom, although we will make sure to still cover them. So when we're going on to the left side, the hand placement stays the same. All we're going to do is we're just going to lift our left hand to stack it on top of our right to find a true vertical position with our saber. Again, referencing the top section of the blade and allowing the tip of it to curve out a little bit to the side. Right now, my right hand is in line with my waist, which causes my left hand to be in line with my face, which may be different from person to person depending on your body proportions or the length of your torso, really. So just make sure that your right hand is in line with your hip as we go through that. This is a left vertical position. To find my left down vertical position, all I'm going to do is switch those hands. My left hand will be underneath my right, same placement, left hand in line with the waist, and so on and so forth. But this is technically considered a full dip like we would see on rifle. But like I said earlier, we're never going to do a full dip on saber. You're never going to throw something from here. So this is one of those positions that's kind of not as needed as we go through. So we have our top left vertical and our bottom left vertical. To move over to the right side, we flip our hands to find right flat, and all we're going to do is stack that right hand on top of the left, placing the left hand in line with our waist and the right hand in line with the face. All the length of your torso comments apply, really making sure that I'm thinking about that vertical right here, boxing out my elbows. This is also known as a true port position, which like port is another catch position, except it's straight up and down as opposed to an angle. So just remember that terminology as well. If I want to find my down vertical position on the right side, I'm just going to switch those hands to have the left hand on top of the right. And again, this is another position that you will not see as much unless it's something that's choreographed. So really just make sure you're thinking about the top verticals as opposed to the bottom when you're referencing these sides. So we have our top vertical on the left side, top vertical on the right side, bottom vertical on the left side, and then bottom vertical on the right side. So now that we've gone over the basic anatomy of the saber as well as some of the common holding positions of this equipment, I want to talk a little bit about the weight distribution that we see in the saber. Now, when I talked about rifle weight distribution, I mentioned that different manufacturers will create rifles differently, which then cause varying amounts of weights as we go through. But above all else, the butt was always much bigger than the nose of the rifle, which meant that there was always a little bit more weight on that side of the gun. When it comes to saber, it's the opposite side of the saber. It's going to be the hilt that holds more weight, which makes sense because it's the big side of the saber. But when I find my balance point, we notice that there's a lot less amount of the piece of equipment on this side of my hand as opposed to the other side. So just whenever you're spinning or manipulating a saber, acknowledge and understand the fact that the weight is going to be here. So the technique and approach of tossing a saber or spinning it is going to be a little bit different than it will be for rifles. So as long as you understand where the weight is, you can get a better grasp of the idea of how you can use it to your advantage whenever you're spinning this piece of equipment. Awesome, now to review everything that we've gone over in this video, we went over what a saber is in color guard. We started with the anatomy of the saber, first going over the hilt, which included the handle and the cage, moving into the blade of the saber, talking about the tip, the catch tape, and the balance point or the spotter tape on the saber, which made up the entire piece of equipment. Afterwards, we went into some standard holding positions, which include our flats, angles, and verticals. We went over the specifics of our hand placement as well as some alternative names for some of the positions such as port or top right angle. And then we also discussed how the bottom verticals are not as common in a technical or a basics foundation aspect. Then we ended off this video talking about the weight distribution, ultimately just saying that most of the weight of the saber is going to be in your hilt and making sure to be aware of that as you're spinning so that way you can use it to your advantage. And that was our video on what is a saber in color guard. I hope you guys have a better understanding of this equipment overall. And if you are getting started with it, you should feel nice and comfortable getting into the first few basics and the fundamentals of technique with this piece of equipment. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to go down below and leave that in our comments section. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one, and happy spinning.